Welcome, everyone. I'm Wake, your host for Shaman to Shaman, where we bring you interviews, shaman to shaman, healer to healer, teacher to teacher, with shamanic earth-based healers and teachers from around the world. Today, we've invited Grandmother Helene Lindmark from within the Arctic Circle to share her stories of a shamanic life and to tell us about her journey, her land, and the forest inspiring her work. Grandmother Helen is a respected elder of the global shamanic community. The forest speaks through her, and she has become a bridge between ancestral knowledge and modern society through mentoring, teaching, ceremonies, and rituals, enriching lives with the transformative power of tradition. Hello, Grandmother Helen. Welcome to Shaman to Shaman.
Hello, Wake. I'm honored to be here with you. We had quite a journey to end up today, but now we are here today, and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you so much. For those of you who don't know Grandmother Helen, let me tell you a little bit more about her. Helen Lindmark was born in a Swedish village north of the Arctic Circle. She was taught by the land, by her family, her people, and by her own experience. Helen's upbringing became steeped in the wisdom of her ancestors. Helen Lindmark went on to be trained as a trauma specialist with a strong foundation in social work and psychiatry. At the age of 37, she experienced a cataclysmic personal event that led her back to her land and to her roots. Through family, cultural teaching, and support, Grandmother Helen Lindmark has become a true guardian of ancestral wisdom, a healer, and environmental advocate. Grandmother Helen is an active contributor to global networks and wisdom circles, including the Institute of Nature Law, Earthrise Collective, the Kiva family, Shamans Directory, where she's an honored ambassador, a Wisdom Keeper delegation, Shaman Portal, and Atman Way. Grandmother Helen is a global Indigenous leader with a very personal style of connecting and deep listening. She is a testament to the power of heritage, resilience, and the enduring bond between humanity and nature. We hope that the stories Grandmother Helen shares today will resonate with you and impact your life in a meaningful way. As with all Shamans Directory offerings, that you will be inspired to add shamanic wisdom and healing sessions to your life. Shaman to Shaman is brought to you by Shamans Directory, a dynamic online platform for earth and lineage-based shamans to share themselves, offer medicine, build community, and change the world. To learn more, you can visit online at shamansdirectory.com, our YouTube channel, and through Instagram. Today, then, I'm truly honored to welcome Grandmother Helen Lindmark to introduce herself to our Shamans Directory community. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be with you here today, Grandmother. And is there anything that you would like to begin with?
First of all, I would like to say that I'm honored to be here. And I would like to say to all of you that will listen to this and also thinking of listening to this, that we are here in the present time. And we have lived many, many lifetimes before. And we have a life experience, and that is for Universal Library. So to coming home, it's to be acknowledging yourself and seeing yourself and being humble and gentle to yourself. It's a journey, but it's a journey that is possible. It's a journey beyond the words, and it's a journey of deeply listening. And if I can give you something to nurture your journey, I am so much grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for being here. But I think today is so like people, if someone say, I don't know what I want to do, you don't know what you want to do. And people get like, what? You need to have a plan, you need to have a structure. Uh, and then instead we can go in this narrative where we're following the pattern of a structure or whatever, and just adapting. And I think that is what's happening in the world. So for me is that I want to the world to feel into them to follow their path, not, and I just want to be the one who bridged that bridge of life into them. I had that conversation tonight with one of my students because he's already soon to fly out and he's so excellent. And then he said, maybe I missed something. And I said, you didn't miss anything. Not at all. It is, but maybe it's not what you think, but it's not about what I'm thinking. I trust you. It's what you feel and you see. That is what I want you to express or take out, because this is you. And I'm just, that means that it's to trust your own, how can you say, like you have a core in the body, and then you have, branches or sunlight strings going out, but to trust that that is holding you. And that is the beauty. So yeah, it was very interesting. And then he said, okay, I am good with that. Yeah. And you're not disappointing me, because I wouldn't take you as a student if I don't believe in you. I believe in you, and I believe in you that you can do this, you can walk this walk, and it's more about holding the space for you to grow, but also holding the space to let you fly. It's really, and I think that I have that from my father view, because when the village was, we come to the time where we need to leave the village for the mining. And they did a book about the village where they interviewed all the people who lived there, and also like daughters and sons to the parents who lived there, grandmothers that lived there. And when my father tells the story about me, it's so beautiful, because I was 15 years old when I fly out. And the woman asked, she said like this, but wasn't you scared to let her go? No, I know I needed her to let her try, but she is always welcome back home. So and I think that's where it's very precious to me that I also say I have 4 sons. They are very diverse. Oh my God, they are very specific, different souls. But and they have done journeys, many that I didn't agree with. But I know if I said no, they will have that thought, but if I did that, how will it be? And when they try, they learn from experience.
You are a true grandmother.
I think so. I have felt that I said it to one of my filmers who worked, she has been filming how it was to lose the village. He has been, so we are just looking now how to have ability to make this film. And so she been 2 times with me and my father. She met relatives of me. And today I had a call with her in the morning, and I said to her, to do what you do is art. You're saying what I am doing is exceptional, but we all have this skill, and that is what we should nurture, and seeing how can we instead not putting ourselves in different islands and look, I not belonging there, and seeing instead that we have this. If we wouldn't be different, it would be very hard to live on this earth.
You allow people to be their creative beings.
And that's the beauty, because even I had in one occasion when I was giving sessions during a gathering here in Sweden, I was there was a man. I saw he was walking very, like military outside, off and on and off and on and off and on. And I was going to have lunch, and Nick had signed him, and I didn't know that she had given him a time. So I came out, and Nick said, "Oh my God, I gave him a time, and you are not ready." And then I said, "Oh, that's not the problem." I said, "Come on, come in." And then he came in, and then he asked me what I'm doing, and I said, "I am, I'm having, uh, I was gifted to be having the opportunity to be the voice of the soul and the earth. So what I'm doing here is that if you allow me, I will hold your hand and just sit and just hold your hand. And then I will see what comes to me. And you are allowed to ask me questions." And I saw the story of this man. And then he was very touched by me holding his hand for a very long time. And afterward, and when I had felt into, and then he said, he came into my face like this, and he said, "Grandmother, I'm beating my children." And then I just put my hands on him, and then I said, "Thank you for sharing with me that. Thank you for being so strong and telling that. That's so brave." And then I said, "What is happening in you?" I had him for 45 minutes. And because this is who I am, I don't start without ending. So I took the time with him, and and even today I have contact with this young man. And it's also because so many behaviors that human beings have, it's coming from the collective. It's coming from patterns, blueprint, from ancestry, from family system. And if we don't receive the tools and understanding, how can we know? And I can't judge him for that, because he had quite a hard story.
Well, you provided a safe place for him to speak his
Yeah,
truth.
yeah, yeah. To speak his truth, but also really helping him, because he believed that he's going crazy. And that's many of my students. They end up with me when they think are becoming crazy. So I don't search for them. They get sent by someone else in the world, and they come, and it's not. It's really that to understand the tapestry of the web of life of the human body, how energetic levels are working. And sometimes we have to work metaphoric with it. We have to work creative with it. And the deeply listening is not only listening with your ears, it's to listening with your whole presence, with your body language, with your eyes, with being present. And that creates a bond in between the people we are talking. Even if it's a large group, it creates a bond, it creates a trust, it creates a peace, it creates healing. And that is the beauty.
You're so
I,
allowing.
yeah, yeah, and that is, my grandmother was that. And I was growing up with her because both of my parents were working, and she was the heart of the village, and she never let anyone out. It doesn't matter if they had steal or done something or drunk, or you know, just standing out. She always opened the door and give them something, to be warm, and because she often said that, that you don't know, you can't predict what's going to happen to you. One day maybe it's you. So this is just to being very, very humble and gentle. The same she said, about walking on the earth, that she's holding us. She's the one who is holding us. She's holding the ground for us 24 hours. So how are we walking on her? Are we walking consciously, or are we walking just walking without having connection to the walk we do, just running?
I found after our time yesterday that I was walking in the woods with far fewer boundaries, that it felt
Mm.
like there was more intermingling between
Mm.
nature and me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's only ourselves who can create that relationship by taking away everything that this is the way how it should be. It's so for everyone, it doesn't matter who you are, it's unique. It's totally unique. The vibration, the feeling of the leaves taking your skin, the feeling of the raindrops, everything, or how you're walking on the land is totally from person to person. It's unique.
Well, you say, Grandmother Helen, that one of your callings is to guide people back home, and that
Yeah.
each person's journey is special. Each
Yeah.
one is their own.
It's special and it's unique. And sometimes we want to relive the life because we made mistakes. We maybe make choices that we thought that we went the wrong path, and we wouldn't be who we are today if we haven't done the journey until the present time when I'm sitting with you. And and that journey is the universal library. But to really have access to that and to have, being, it is to go back and being very gentle and humble to yourself, and, lowering the energy of judging yourself, of self-destruction, like, more having an understanding that I maybe choose the dysfunctional relationship. Am I a bad person for that? No, I'm not a bad person. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the tools, and I followed. That's why I'm one of the participants in the call that we had said that I remember Helen said that she screwed up her kids, and Grandmother Helen did. Because I traumatized for some. Am I a bad mother? No, I'm not. But I was the mirror for them when they are starting relationship with female. I was the mirror for them of life, and I lived with two dysfunctional men, and that become the mirror for them. And it was very hard for them when I started to express this for them, that the pattern you could see. Even my father and me are talking a lot about these patterns with my mother and him, and and but the healing can happen when we are allowed to express it, take it out, and just understanding that this is I didn't have any guidelines at that moment. So it's how do we navigate? And that's the journey back home, to find the compass of life, to navigate yourself home. And it's not from like now I'm away and now I am home. It's more about embodied. It's a feeling that really have very hard to find words for because it's beyond the beyond.
But we must have a sense, don't we, Grandmother Helen, when we are on our way home versus when we're away from home and feel
Yeah,
disconnected?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we have a sense of that because the sense is going to our primordial senses. So some people can say, I am confused and flying everywhere. I can't feel my ground. And that's when they are totally confused out in the atmosphere of the wind or the universum or the sky. So we have a sense, and that sense is that how it's to discover how does it feel in my soul, my spirit, my body when I'm feeling grounded.
How does it feel for you?
For me, it's like I am like a tree, you know. I can feel my breath going from the top down to the earth, and I can feel I can expand and I can take in, I can expand, I can take in. It's feeling like it's a feeling of, how can I say it? It's a feeling of being, it's a mix by being humbleness and just a state of relaxation. And that can also shifting, the grounding can also shifting because when I become to have to be sharp, then the ground is like a then the grounding comes from my grandfather as a river of a red color line, and he tapped into me, and then the shaman is speaking really from the ancestry, and then I feel really like, you know, like a not a vibration but like a really heat in the body when this happens. And it can be in a conversation when I uh, talk about um, um, the green shift, or I talking about environment, or I talking about walking the path, and uh, and then the voice comes from him of, because he was a man, he was the man that I really didn't really have access to when I grew up, but he was so, I was so curious about him because he was so exotic. He was the man who lived with my Christian grandmother that was Christian and Laestadian, very strict woman, very strict woman. She was a he was a cook, and he was very very hard. And my grandfather, he lived a very he was very also very strong in his spirit, but he had one life with the family and one life in the mountain. And I knew, and you know, to look into him, his eyes, I remember, I think I was 8 years old. I looked into his eyes and I saw a deep road. And and then I realized that you know, when you feel you are not allowed to ask anything because you just know, I can't ask him, what is the deep road I see in your eyes? You you just you just are silent, because that is something also in our culture, that silence is its own language. So to navigate, and that is the language that also is the communication with the nature, combined with the deeply listening. But that silence has, as everything in life, so many layers. But when I saw his eyes, it was a layer of deepness and also fear. And then hearing all the stories about him meeting the bear, they looked in the eyes and then they turned around and walked away. So, like me, I have the bear spirit in me. So, I can really call for it, and I can really feel when it's coming in, and then it's also my grandfather is activated. So so I avoid that, like I said when we met the last time. I avoid it because I was afraid of, because I had many visions from very young age, and I was not allowed to speak about it. So I know what it means to be not be to be struggle with all that you see, and then you don't have anywhere to put it. So you store it deep, deep inside of yourself, and then you try to live. You try to survive in the life. So you observe, how do you live, and then you keep this inside because it's something that it's so, it vibrates, and it's far away from knowing what it is, and it's scary. But I needed to go through this fear to be who I am today.
Well, one of your most beautiful stories, I think, grandmother, is the one you tell of being with your father after
Yeah,
your life crisis. And the advice he told you, as I remember, is go out in the forest
yeah,
and listen. Could you tell us about that?
yeah, yeah. So I I have seen, I have been with the spirits my whole life, and that was more home than the reality life. But because it was a big secret, and because it was not speakable in the home, it becomes a secret island in me. But when I became up, when I was in my later teenage, I started to study, I did classes, I educated myself, and I never felt really home. There was so many pointing sticks, like saying, Helen, you cannot do this. You need to, if you're going to talk to the spirit, you have to have a plan how you're going. So you need to go 10 steps up, or you have to go to 3 doors or 7 doors. And I just did it like this. And then I had the conversation, and I never questioned how it works. So, but then I had a life crisis. I had a heart attack. I had 5 years of depression, confusion. Who am I? My whole life fell apart. And then I started to, maybe after 4 years, I started to meditate. I was a lot in nature, trying to come back, and also was with a woman who helped me. But then I was taught when I grew up that to for someone to know who Helen is or who you are, you need to have a proof for that. You need to have a paper. So then there was an advertise about this 1 year medium class with Terry Evans in Sweden, and it was very expensive. So I signed up for that. I think all the preparing paperwork, everything, and then I was with my father, and we had done some groceries in the in the town, and was going to the village. And I said to him in the car, you know, next I'm going to start with Terry Evans to the medium class, so I can have a certification that I can talk to spirits. And he just stopped the car, like put the warning blink on and stopped the car, and he said, you're not going to do something, you're not going to do that, because you're not going to do something you have inside of yourself that is in your roots. And then I said to him, but you you have to understand, I have experienced so many things since I was a child. Then I need to tell you my stories. So what I did was I told him all the stories of how I've seen people moving over time, how I met people in the forest, how I, in specific places in the village where I met a specific man or a woman. One of them was Hilda, and my father was also, he was going with with the post when he was a boy to Hilda. So, and she lived the furthest in the village. And then we came home, and I said, what am I going to do? Tomorrow you're going out in the forest, and you're going to listen. And I asked, what am I going to listen for? You're going to listen, Helen. So for 2.5 weeks, I went out. I walked these paths that I've been walking since I was born. And every day I came home. He's a very silent man, sitting in the same place, looking at me and saying, oh, you didn't listen. You haven't listened yet. And he's so grounded. So there's no way to be angry at him, you know. You don't become angry at him, and not even today about things. Well, but I became angry inside of me. And that was also something I wasn't familiar with, because I had closed off the emotional contact, the integration of emotions in me. So I became so frustrated, like, what am I going to listen for? What are you expecting of me? I can't do this anymore. I was so frustrated. I was so sad. And I was so tired. You know, to go out there and in the unknown, in the unexpected, what is it? And then I go out, and that day, and I walk up, and I have to go through our barn and up, and I'm coming just a little bit in the path. There's the mother moose standing. And the feeling, I'm having goosebumps, the feeling I had when I looked in her eyes, I mean, it was like the biggest love I ever felt. And it was like looking inside of me, the one that I have hidden, the one that I have protected, that had so many questions, that didn't understand. And then everything, I had these waves of energy going through my body. And then it was like feeling like the forest put a blanket around me. And, you know, everything starting to vibrate. I hear the leaves. It was like another outer space sound in a way. And it's so, it was so touching, and it was so hard in a way, I can say, really, really hard. Because what will I do with it? What will I do with that feeling? And I was sitting there, I don't know how long I was sitting before I could raise myself and go up and go home. And when then he looked at me very loving at me and said, well, now you have listened.
So he knew without you even saying.
Yeah, he knew without me even saying something to him. And then we had a lot of conversations, and he said to me that, you know, Helen, that there's going to be many things that you will never understand. You will never understand how you were gifted. My father held you when you were born. He took you in his arms, and that is how a gift is given. It's not by words. It's not by books. It's a call. And you are here. You are the one who has chosen to carry on this call. And now you are ready to take it. And for me, it became very overwhelming. And I was just, I had 1,000 of questions. You can imagine thousands of questions, you know, logical questions that came in my mind. The thing that I knew was that there were no even not worth to ask him any logical question because I would not get an answer. So what I needed was that I was needed to just to stay in that state, and then it becomes even more time where I went a lot in the forest, standing by the tree, sitting by the tree, taking the leaves in the hand, smelling them, connecting to them, being with them. And then my heart started to, after maybe a year, started to calling for a drum, because the drum is a medicine in our culture, and also a very sacred item that used for both healing but also divination, and also for hold the home sacred, like we had family drums before there were this period of where they took the drums and burned them. So I went to do my own drum, and unfortunately I don't have it here. One day I will show you that. On this drum there's a white wool, there's the raven, there's the snake, there's the barefoot, the footprint of the bear, and there's the roots, there's the fire, and there's this tree of life, the sun. And I came home and I started to drum, and it didn't want to work with me. Then the next step came. You need to build a relationship to your drum. It's a living being. It's a spirit. The frame is from a bird. The skin is from a reindeer. The feathers you have on it is coming from different birds that are protecting you. So you need to let them to know who you are and build a relationship. And in that time also I starting to mapping out where my lineage come from, both the Sami and the Kwan and the other minority people, to have an understanding, where am I, where are coming my roots. And then I ended up in Russia, in Archangel, that is the island of Archangel Michael, where my grandfather's ancestor comes from. So I started to connecting to Russian sisters, because I've always been very drawn to their culture, to Finland, to Russia, and it's to the pureness of nature, but also the tradition. It's deep rooted, but it's rooted among the Sami, because among the lineage, but also among the Kwan people. And I was given my first drum, and that's here. This drum has traveled the continents, traveled, and it's coming from my sister. It's coming from Russia, and so at the moment I didn't have even the drum I made. I wasn't really. We were friends, but we were not really there. And this drum arrived, and it didn't speak. It was totally flat. And this is a goat and a deer and a birch. So as I meet you, I talk to you, I starting to having inner dialogues with the drum. And also learning to have communication by drumming to my heart, not drumming out here, right? Drumming to the heart like this, and feeling into how is it going into me, what is happening inside of me. So as I was drumming, I also discovered what is happening in my spirit. Where am I? Is it awakening a feeling? Is it awakening some uncomfortable? Is it taking me somewhere without specifically doing a drum journey for some to go somewhere? So I build this, I build a relationship to both of them, and I think this is so important today in spirituality. There's a world of what do we need to be aligned with spirit. We don't need anything, we need ourselves. And then we can have tools that are guiding us or bridging us and taking us somewhere. It can be cards, it can be runes, it can be a drum, it can be a talisman. But to be aligned with the spirit is to be aligned with the wholeness of us, ourselves, to be in the source. And that is a path of being whole. Feeling safe, feeling secured wherever I travel in the world. If I'm not have felt in how I feel, if I'm not taking care of this temple, I will be shaky. But if I do, I never feel alone because this is the temple, this is the house, this is the home, and the heart is the one who is carrying it. The heart is the one who never sleeps. It holds us 24 hours. And to remembering that for that the body needs care. The body needs to understand that this is a physical body that we see, but in the tapestry of the body, it's an inner landscape of nature, of water, of mountains, of fires, of air. Yeah. So how do we nurture that? So by embracing, by seeing that, the first, when we're looking at air, is the first thing we connect with when we are coming out of the womb. We take a breath. And that's the last thing we do on this earth before we leave. And that is how to really to recognize how it, because by having just checking in every day, take a deep breath, feeling, does it feel comfortable? Does it feel tight somewhere? Does it feel, kind of like something is wobbling? And then we can just visualize air like taking like the deepest wind and just breathe it in with more like deep breathing, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. And it helps because this tension we can feel, it can be connected to fear, to anxiety, to expectations, to insecurity, or we doesn't feel safe. It has so many layers. By finding tools how to work and connecting with the element. And many people asking about the fire. But what is the fire in the body? Fire is the emotions. Many people have, when we look at emotions that we look at, so we can see among humanity in many sequences that we become passive aggressive because we don't know how to express and we don't want to be too much and we don't want to offend anyone. Instead, we are offending ourselves by not saying anything or expressing ourselves. So we are, and that's not okay if we look really clear on it to offend ourselves. So so when I discovered that, I work with them with primal screaming, also with voicing, voicing the letters of the different points on the body, and then in many of my workshops, my classes, when I go for retreats, I end with the primal screaming because it's an exercise of being free like a bird. And with one, I have a story about that. I had a group of 8, or I think there were 8 or 9 people, and there was this old lady. She was also going for another man, but she came for this class with her daughter, and she said, I'm refusing. I'm not doing that, Helen. I never raised my voice in my whole life. I'm not doing it. And I just hugged her and I said, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, and I'm there for you. And we are all there for you. So the whole group lined up, just holding the hand to support her energetically. And I was holding her in the belly, and she did the exercise of the birds. And I was just supporting her. And I can tell you, Wake, it's the most beautiful, beautiful sound that I ever have heard that came out. And afterwards, she was totally shaking, crying. You know, she was so euphoric because it releases so much that she had. And that we think that we need to analyze. How much time do we really think of how to relive our life by analyzing it? We are here now. The time is now. This is the present time when I'm sitting with you. Tomorrow is another day. So I work, and that is to really to also to regulate the heat inside of your body. You can work with the fire, and also, you know, but also like you have experienced that I'm playing a lot with giving questions. Like sometimes I give questions without having I don't want an answer. I just want to give a gift for them. So it's really but you have to use imagination. You have to really put it out, you know. So when it's about conflicts or something, there's something triggered in some occasion. I say, so who are the characters here? Who are the cartoons we are with? And now I just want you to sit back and look at the movie. And suddenly, you know, the things are clicking in. Oh, I see this. Oh, now I understand. Because often we think as human that it's about us. When people are maybe feeling, and we want to, but if it's touch us, then it's something that is maybe longing to be released or to be healed inside.
You are a true medicine woman, and you're so open to
Yeah.
the experience of your groups and individuals. I know there's a term for a Sami medicine woman, Baskari, is that correct?
Boskari, that's the Finnish, yes. And I was given that name. I was asked by the eldest grandmother in the village. She had back pain. And she asked my father, can you ask Helen to come and look at that? And I was very, very honored, you know, very honored, but also, you know, had many. And then I go in the mind, but then I needed to go. I went outside her house. I was going to a birch. I was standing. I was breathing, holding the trunk of the tree. Just ground yourself, Helen. Be a tool, go in and check on her, see what is needed to be done. And I did. And then she said, my father's name is Bosse. And then she said, Bosse, do you know that your daughter is a Boskari? And then he said, yeah, that's also a word for her. Yeah, I know she has many, many words. So and then I know, I didn't know I tried to find out. I asked them, what is really a Boskari? And my father said, the most I can come is a medicine woman. And when I was doing a retreat in Finland last year, I asked them, do you know the word Boskari? And they said, yes, it is the woman who done the medicine, but that was not really, taking into society, but she's the medicine of the. So yeah, so that's because in my home we had three language. We had Sami, we had English, and we had Swedish. And we had two religions. We had three entities, ethnicities like Swedish, Sami, and Finnish. So it was a very diverse home. And my grandmother, she held the whole core of that. It was high to the roof, it was low to the roof. It was, I remember my father was telling, he did Citra, the music instrument. He built them when he was a young boy. He liked to play them. And my grandfather, he was very strict. No, so he burned them. So, and that is not because he was bad. It's the history that created this overlapping fear that was kind of a rule in the silence. And the same was you survive, you don't ask for help. You survive. You take care of yourself, and you just, you work hard, and that's kind of a thread. But then I have so many, with my grandfather, I have so many, even if I was very, very young when he died, I have so many, many layers of him, my father's father, is that people coming to our home and they were really badly wounded. Maybe they hurt themselves when they were working outside, and they walked when they went out. And he just, and I could ask him, Grandfather, what? He couldn't walk when he came in, but he's walking now. And he just put on my head like this. And no words. And the same was with my grandmother, like just deeply listening to someone who maybe was depressed or sad. And then they had a smile when they went out. So it was a natural thing. So it was never something that was special or complicated. Was how we supported each other in the village.
Well, I know, grandmother, that you were given a spirit name. Could you tell
Yeah.
us about your name?
During one of my visions, it was when I was connecting to Russia, and after I had find the connection and the relationship to my drums, I had a vision. Yeah, I could say that. My mother, my grandmother, and on both sides came, and they gave me. They said, "You're gonna walk this walk, and you will behold, and many times you will ask yourself, why can't I choose? Because I understand I can't choose what I'm doing today because it's coming from another source." And then they said, so the name we want to give you is Elikma. And it's a very beautiful name. It's a name that I honor, and it's very sacred for me that I don't use it. So I'm happy to speak with you and share it to the world about it a little bit. But it's so sacred for me because these women struggled a very hard life, and they walked among their men. They supported them. They get the birth of many children, and they were long distance, and they were long. There's a wide space up in the north, but how these women were supporting each other, and these are women that are my family, and they show me the importance of being open with an open heart, even if some of the journeys were hard, but it gave me a deepness of the layers of being a woman, but also standing among a man, among our brothers, and walking together, which is so important, that we are we are who we are. We are a man and we are a woman, but the importance is what they show me is that to there's so many ways of support, to be standing by the side, and they hold the core of the family, and they did it with honor. So it's really something that is very deep in me.
Well, and your grandmothers must have recognized you and your
Yeah,
way of being and your capabilities in the world.
yeah, I think they did. I know they did. Today I know they did, because that my mother died 2007. And my mother was very strict, raised by my grandmother, that they had the Laestadianism and Christianity. And she had so many fears. And so during the maybe 10 years, 15 years, I have built a relationship to her that is so beautiful, and seeing how she's supporting me when I'm doing my work. And I have talked to my aunt, because in a way sometimes after, well, during the until maybe my divorce 2018, when I really dedicated really to go this path, I am fully out, as a which means that I can choose to live my life, but I'm dedicated. They are the ones who is holding me and guiding me. So I my aunt said, my oldest aunt said that you were born to this earth to do what you do. In the beginning, when I began, she said no, like you are. I am. She didn't want. And today I understand that no, because she was so afraid that it will open a big wound in the family when I started to walk this path. So everyone was in fear of my family in the beginning. Like, what is Helen doing? They, they asked my father, and he's so beautiful. And then said, if you want to know what Helen is doing, then you need to ask her. So it's really so wonderful with him. But so I, through many of my, I think my deepest initiations have happened in the daily life, when they come true, and just, supporting, but also shaping me up, I would say sometimes. Not so much in this present time, but before, during during me to release the logical mind, to go beyond the trust, that really, yes, trust. So today when people come for me, I say them, you can please record me, because when we are over with the conversation, I will not know what I have said to you, because it's a channel. It's a channel, and that is really, I it's so alive in me. This is me, and this is I. It's so hard to put words on how. And the same is, with specific things. I can take, for example, in our family, there's a staff that has been gone in generations. And this staff was in the barn. So when we starting to empty the barn before we lost the village, I said, "Where is the staff, Father?" And he said, "I think your oldest aunt took it." And then I asked her, "Do you know? There were two staffs in there that. Do you have them?" "I throw them away," she said. And I was like, "Okay." And I said, "How could she do that? Why didn't she?" I asked Father, "Why didn't she ask me?" He said, "I don't know. She has." So, and then 2 years ago, I am visiting her in her new home and going to the toilet, and there's the two staffs. and she, and I was like, there's yeah, she said, "Yes, there's the staffs on the toilet. They're yours, if you didn't know. But you have to promise me they will stay up in the north. They will walk with you here. You are not allowed to travel out in the world with them. It is not, they are not for using for that." The same was with my father when I became 42. I was going to a shamanic festival in Norway, and he said, "I have a gift for you." And I said, "Okay." And then he go in our oldest garage that even not have a roof, and he came with a plastic bag, very very heavy, and he opened it, and it is enormous citrine, and then he says, "I want to give you to this. Your uncle, when he was a diamond driller, came home with this, and now it's time for you to have it." This is how it is in my family. If I ask, I'm not giving anything, but they give me, and that is a part of initiations. They give me, and how they know, they just know, like I know. That's how we know. I can't describe it in a way, but it's built on the trust within us. And knowing that in the nature, in the tapestry of nature that is a part of us, there are so many beautiful layers. And there are so many beautiful species. There's so many beautiful spirits. And when the time is right, we will have it all. But when we're trying to force it, when we're trying to run for it, we fall. And then we wonder, why are we always having mistakes? Why are we not reaching the goal? Because we are not centered. We have to have balance between the giving and the receiving. So as we give out to the world, if we not value ourselves and give to ourselves, we will never be respected and seen for who we are.
I know you have a big calling in the world, Grandmother
Yeah.
Helen. Tell us a little bit about your calling right now. I know you're moving closer to your father. I understand he's 83 and you love to be near him.
Yeah. So I made a big decision. I make a big decision last year in August to leave the home that I lived for 15 years, where my sons grew up. Not the one grew up in the north, but the three others were living with me in the south, further south. So I did going through my whole life, and there was a saying, when you have been poor or when you have been suffering for being without things, you can start to secure yourself to have food, have things. So I grew up with this secure system that we had an organized structure with having food for months at home, if it will be hard times. So that I had with me. But so the calling the calling now is that I had a longing. The time with my father is very precious. He's 83 years old. By being with him is for me to growing, and it's to be expanding, and also to being more clear what my mission is in the world. And what's coming really through me is that to guide people to be more connecting, weaving in the soul, to be connected to themselves, and to take back to, and also to deepen the connection to the awareness of who they are, and also, holding the space of allowance to open the space of abundance, of experience, of inspiration, of curiosity, and entering the space where you activate your primordial senses and you really acknowledge them. By acknowledge them, you deepen the connection within you. By acknowledge yourself, your breath, your smell, your hearing, your touching, you're becoming more aware of your own temple, your body, your house. So the calling is really to be near him, be nearing my family, but also being in the north, in my homeland, where my ancestors are, where my because it's not only about the humanity who've been here before, it's about the land. It's about the mountains, it's about the earth, it's about the lakes, it's about the rivers. It all contains a part of me, and I'm walking with them. That's why it's so important for me to be the voice for earth and for the water and for nature, because when we are hard and hush with the earth and destroying it, it's like we're destroying our own body. And I am a testimony of that, of losing it for mining. Because that day, I can never forget it, when my father was calling me and he said, "Helen, I'm getting a heart attack. They took the house. It has begun." And so for me to leaving the home that I had, I was 15 when I left from the north, my home, to leaving the home I had with my sons, 15 years, the same time, was really it was really a healing, but it was a very, very deep transition time. So today, for my call is to be also to guiding people, but also the beauty to work with groups is to work with the mirrors. It's holding the community, seeing how people growing together, how they allow themselves to expand, but how they allow someone else to hold the space for someone to grow. And that is the beauty. The beauty is to I do a lot of personal quests, people coming where I'm mapping them and we look into the layers of life. And then I'm doing groups, because group work is to have, because we live by family, like the wolf mother. The wolf has her herd that they're walking with. We human has that. We also have and today we are living in a world where we are more separated, like isolated, and it's because of many, 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 many things. But how can I be a part of something, even if you are where you are and I am where I am? How can I feeling that I have a belonging somewhere? and that I have the allowance to be me, and that to to be giving out is to have the balance of not giving 110% of ourselves, maybe 80%, because then we can expand 20%. So really that to have that humbleness and gentleness to ourselves, but also being very strict, respectful also. But first it starts with acceptance, to accept. So I work a lot with climate, because climate I see is a mirror of humanity. So when I see a earthquake, I see a fire, I see a storm, I get the vision of where are we going now? Because I look how the wind is blowing, I look at the trees, I feel how the earth is shaking, because she's trying to speak to us. But we have forgot how to listen. And it's not because we don't want to listen, because we have lost that connection. And then so for me is to touch the heart of the human beings, to have the experience of embodied, that something is touching me, then everything becomes in another space. Even in importance and not importance, it becomes real, because I can't run from this feeling, but I can run from the mind, and I can hide with words. I can speak myself away. But when we take it from the head down into the trunk of the body and down to the roots, then it becomes alive in here, and then the healing starts. So that's about being the bridge in so many different diverse places, what I am, from the NGO to the corporate world, to communities, to organizations, and because for me it's very important, like I present myself as Grandmother Helen for them, and I also understand that my world can be very far from their world, and my world maybe feels strange, but it's also, I'm talking about that I can have, like I have with you, a shawl on tonight when I'm talking to you, but it's my heart who speaks to you. It's my soul who speaks to you. It's not the shawl, it's not the risco, it's not the cold. It's me who, and that is what my grandmother, I remember when I going to Glasgow the first time, she was coming in the night, and she said, you need to go to the climate conference. And I never been to a climate conference. And I said, I don't know. Yeah, just send it out to the universe, to your networks. You have to go to Glasgow. And I ended up there. Everything came to me. I ended up there. And what I'm telling you is that was the day, that was the next step of being in the forest, because I was with the Minga indigenous, and we were having, it was the letter to Mother Earth, and I wrote the letter, and I wasn't there with anyone, I didn't know anyone, so, and I was very shy, and I didn't know if I could read it or not. And then there was coming one of the men, he was an elder, came and he said, Grandmother Helen, can we hear your letter? And then I read, I speaked out the letter that I have wrote, and it was like having the most beautiful warm blanket of community coming to me, to understand that we're living in different part of the world, what's happening in the south is happening in the north. The thing is that it has different shapes because it's in different part of the globe, but it's the same. And that is for me to see. It's not about comparison. It's not about being the one who hold the prophecy, or it's about finding what is the golden seeds I can bring into the world, and how can we all bring in this golden seeds, see how we can plant this new tree for humanity to live. So it's really something that is. And then I knew this is one part I will do.
Well, I know you're a beautiful writer. You've written for Shamans Directory a Mother's Day presentation, and one of the lines that I love from what you shared was, "Let us celebrate, not in
Mm,
division, but in connection." And I believe
mm,
that speaks to you of the
yeah.
celebration of life, the celebration of coming together.
Mm,
Now, if someone wanted to work with you, just so we touch on this, um, you live far in the north, but you are accessible and you welcome clients and students to walk with you. Is that right?
yeah. Yeah. So I have a mentor program. I have students who are mentoring, that they're going in mentorship, and they are learning by doing. So often they have been in spirituality for a very long time, and they find they want to be connected in all. They can easily connect to everything, but there's something that is out of frequency inside of them. So I am holding the space, and they are growing by that. So they get, and I have sometimes weekly contact, and if they're doing something specific, I'm always there for them. So I'm doing the mentor for some people, mostly young people at the moment, on all over the world by the web. And then I do private constellation, both in working with the collective trauma, and then people also decide. Many people who walks with me, they decide to come for the personal quest, to look into the tapestry of life, connecting and really deepening, feeling that it's a lack of security today in society. But when we can find the safety anchor to hold ourselves, it becomes more secured within us. And then if the world is shaking, it doesn't shake in the same way if we are grounded in that, if we are home here.
I know, Grandmother Helen, that you are an ambassador of Shamans Directory. You're involved in many widely impactful shamanic groups and earth-based groups, and your membership in the directory, being from the north and being someone who calls on their deep lineage, is so important in contributing to the totality of the membership and to what Shamans Directory is all about. Could you just say a word about the significance of Shamans Directory for you?
Yeah. So I was heard about Shamans Directory about 2 years ago, and then about 1 year ago I started to get an invitation, and I really love how they have built the platform, but also it's a community. It's a community, worldwide community, and for me, Shamans Directory is a bridge for life. It's a bridge of coming home, to have the opportunity and the access to meet, because it is some people coming to me, some people go to someone else. It's what we need to feel into that, what we are longing, and that is the diversity, and that is the beauty, that is how we deepening the connection. And also, I love how Trisha and Mayumi holding the tapestry of Shamans Directory. So I'm very, very honored to be an ambassador there, but also I really love to work with the Shamans Directory. For me, it's very grounded and it's built on a fundamental ground, and that is important. For me, when I look into where I gauge myself, I always look into the vision, the intention, and is there a platform of grounding here? Because then there's a stability and you can stand on it, and from that you can act. That's how I
Thank you.
met you, and you are very precious to me. That I want to say. That's how I met you, and I'm very, very honored. And I've been really longing to have this interview with you because I loved the first conversation we had.
It's been a long time in coming, grandmother, and here we are. And I was the beneficiary of receiving you in a class setting yesterday that was so engaging, and you allowed so much space for the participants to express themselves, and you held everyone's comments and expressions with such calm and grace and affirmation. So it's such an honor to be with you here again today. And that's what Shaman Directory does for me, is it brings people together. I'm able to
Yeah.
connect here above the Arctic Circle with you, and bring you into people's households around the world. And I so appreciate you, Grandmother Helen. I appreciate everyone who's spending their moments listening to Grandmother Helen and watching you. And this is how we get to know one another. This is how we strengthen the shamanic community as a whole. I so appreciate your sharing of your heartfelt journey, your journey to the woods, to the forest, what inspires you, your grandparents and the place they've had in your life, and your father now, your deep relationship with your father, and all you've been learning through these family associations and through your own experiences in life. You are a great credit to the shamanic community. I thank you so much for this
Oh,
time together, Helen. Any final comments before we go?
the final comment before we go. Don't forget that you are unique and important. They have a belonging in this world, and for who you are contributing to the wholeness of the earth.
Thank you so much, Grandmother Helen, for sharing your journey, your passion, your calling, your vision, and for guiding us back home. For all those who are watching, please visit Shamans Directory. You can see Grandmother Helene Lindmark's profile there. Be in touch with her through this portal. And also, you'll find in our YouTube channel some of the selected summit interviews and presentations that have occurred. And it's a great universe of information and connection with those of us around the world who are dedicated to taking a look at our past, incorporating that in our present, and bringing together the communities. Until next time, this is Wake. We'll see you around the fire, and we thank you so much for being a part of this global shamanic community. Thank you, Grandmother Helen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Wake.